Hello. Many years ago, when the Harry Potter series of books came out, I was a member of a small evangelical non-denominational church. And I had my suspicions of these books. They were about wizards and witchcraft and things seemingly of a dark nature. And I thought the Potter series would probably be a bad influence on its readers. But in the process of time, my religious beliefs evolved quite a bit. I moved from being an evangelical Christian to more of a non-evangelical, non-literal type. I now favor the Episcopal Church, although I've never been confirmed in that church, because there are a lot of things in the evangelical world that just didn't sit right with me. The extreme right-wing politics being one of the main things. A political philosophy that treats people pretty badly, especially the working class and the poor. So my religious beliefs evolved over the years, and I moved away from this complete, strict, literal interpretation of the Bible. But still, it was a long, long time before I ever found out what the Harry Potter series of books really was about. I read about it on the internet, heard about it, but still kind of harbored this notion that maybe it was some kind of evil influence on people. And then, not too long ago, I happened to see the end of the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which I think is the last movie in the series. I watched about the last 30 minutes of that, and it became very clear that Harry is a good guy. He's not some evil wizard, but he's a profoundly good, likable guy. And then not too long after that, I happened to see a picture of Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry Potter in the movies, and a picture of my godson, Christian. And they looked an awful lot alike. And so I got a little bit curious about this series about which I had been so suspicious and had such a negative prejudice toward in the past, and decided, I'll read these books, find out what the Potter series is all about, find out what Harry Potter's all about, what kind of work did J.K. Rowling actually do here. And so recently read The Sorcerer's Stone and completed that, and then moved on through 2 more books. I'm now in the 3rd book in the series, and I'll tell you what I think. I think it's great literature. The world of Harry Potter, the setup is basically something like this. There is the Muggle world, which is the regular non-magical world, and then there is the wizard world, which is the magical people, the witches and the wizards. And the wizard world exists parallel to the Muggle world. They live side by side with Muggles, but they try to keep a low profile because they don't want all of the Muggles, all the non-magical people, seeking magical solutions to their problems, because that would cause chaos, and also because a lot of people are very prejudiced toward wizards. And we see that in Harry's first adoptive home. At the beginning of the story, the wizard world is in a state of celebration because the evil Lord Voldemort, the wicked wizard, possibly the wickedest wizard anybody had ever known, had just been defeated and diminished in power, and was now sort of on the run, so to speak, and not very powerful anymore, because he just participated in the murder of James and Lily Potter, Harry Potter's parents, who were on the good side. But he was unable to kill Harry Potter. Potter survived the attack, even though he was only an infant. And the reason for that comes out later in The Sorcerer's Stone. It's explained why Voldemort wasn't able to kill Harry Potter. And so, with the defeat of Lord Voldemort, the wizard world is in a state of celebration. And you have owls flying around in the daytime, shooting stars all over Great Britain, strange people about, and cloaks. That's mentioned on about page 6 or so, where the Muggles are seeing all these strange things happening and wondering what's going on. But Harry, now an orphan, is going to need a new home, and he doesn't have any wizard relatives. So the powers that be in the wizard world decide that he needs to go live with his physical aunt and uncle, the Dursleys, and their son Dudley. But the Dursleys hate everything to do with the wizarding world. They knew that Petunia, she's Mr. Dursley's wife, was Lily Potter's sister, and they knew that Lily and James were wizards and they couldn't stand it. Maybe they were evangelicals, something like that, but they couldn't stand the fact that Harry was quite possibly a wizard, and they treated him horribly. They never beat him or anything like that, but he lived a miserable, isolated life. He had no friends, no birthdays, lived in the smallest place in the house, and was generally treated very badly. And it was just he was yelled at a lot, and he had a lot of prohibitions and restrictions, and he was extremely isolated and lived a pretty sad life. And Rowling does a very good job of arousing sympathy for Harry Potter. He's, as I said, living a miserable life. And then eventually letters come from Hogwarts School of Wizards and Witchcraft, and it's discovered that Harry is in fact a wizard and he's been accepted to the school. And to make a long, complicated deal short, Harry is able to go to the school for wizards and witches, Hogwarts. And it becomes very clear once it gets to Hogwarts that there is a good side and there is a bad side in the wizarding world, the magic world. The good side is represented by the Ministry of Magic and its Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, and people like the headmaster of the school, Professor Dumbledore, and his associate, Professor McGonagall, and numerous other people. And Harry, the lonely boy, soon has some friends who are extremely loyal to him. And before long, well, before we get to the sport, Quidditch, all the students at Hogwarts are divided into 4 residential houses. There's Gryffindor, that's the one Harry's going to, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin, and these were houses that were formed by the original 4 wizards who founded Hogwarts about 1,000 years ago. And Harry's assigned to Gryffindor, and where he meets his best friends, Ron and Hermione, and eventually he's sort of adopted by a wizarding family, sort of half adopted by a family called the Weasleys, and life improves dramatically for Harry Potter. And it's hard not to be really happy for him. Well, there's this sport called Quidditch. It's kind of like a soccer match played in the air, and the houses all play in competition for what's known as the House Cup. And Harry is identified pretty quickly as a potential Quidditch star. And so he starts playing in these matches, and by now he has a lot of friends. The lonely boy who was mistreated so badly, he's living a pretty good life. He's eating good food, has a great shelter, has a lot of friends. And in the first match that he actually wins, he has people actually fighting for him when he's kind of taunted and made fun of by the evil people over on the Slytherin team, I think it is. And but it becomes clear really fast that Harry now has friends and he's living a good life and he's on the way to a great future, even though it's going to be a future where he'll be in combat with Lord Voldemort on the side of darkness for a long time to come. And it really is great literature. Someone I was discussing this with a while back told me that the themes you find in the Harry Potter series are the basic idea of love and self-sacrifice and friendship and loyalty defeating the bad side, the powers of darkness. And I did find that. It's very clear in the Harry Potter series that there's good and bad in the wizarding world. And as you read these books, it's impossible not to like Harry Potter. He's a great character, good guy, his friends are good people. You might say his friends are people of good character. They're definitely on the good side. There is a dark side, and the good people are fighting the dark side, and they're going to eventually win it all for the good side. And there are a lot of good, powerful lessons in these Potter books. And I recently read that literary reading is declining in the United States, and that's a bad thing, because literary reading develops the quality of empathy, in that we're able to see the world through the eyes of other people. And I could certainly see Harry's world through his eyes. One particularly interesting section was that Harry had some deep fears. He confronted them through the instrumentality of some people known as the Dementors, who were actually prison guards, and they were in this third novel for a particular reason, that they surrounded the castle and they were guarding the castle and all that. But Harry was absolutely terrified of these people. And, you know, I could identify with Harry's fear, because who among us doesn't have deep fears that scare the hell out of us? I would say that everybody does. Anybody says he doesn't have some substantial things that scare the death out of him or her, he's probably either lying or in a state of self-deception. We all have that. So it was easy to identify with Harry in this fact that the Dementors scared the hell out of him, and he had a lot of problems with that. But I see a lot of positive values, a lot of good lessons in the Potter books. There is good, there is evil, and the good is constantly struggling with the evil. You know, J.K. Rowling says that she is a practicing Christian, and that's pretty obvious because you see the values in her books. So personally, I've gone through a time in the last few years of re-examining some old beliefs and some old prejudices and sort of moving forward in my spiritual life. And a very pleasant part of that has been discovering the Harry Potter books. I think this is great fiction, and it teaches great values. And so now, after years of only barely knowing what this was all about, and only knowing a little, you know, just a little about it and being very suspicious of it, I see the Harry Potter series as a very positive thing. And I have now become a fan of J.K. Rowling and the Potter series. And I recommend these books. I'm pretty sure I'm going to recommend the movies too, because this is great literature, great drama. It teaches a lot of good lessons. And I have now become a fan of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. In a sense, you might say Harry Potter's a friend of mine, because I can identify with him on a certain level. And so that's my take on the Harry Potter series after my fairly recent in-depth exposure to it. Have a great day.